Hello, Seiiti Arata. Many centuries ago, in a kingdom already forgotten, there was a very wise king. This king took a trip and was away for a few days from this kingdom. Meanwhile, a tiny goblin approached the castle. This goblin was so tiny that he managed to go past the guards and got into the throne room. When the goblin was discovered, the guards started to yell at him to go away. The more the gods threatened, the bigger the goblin became until he turned into a giant monster. When the king returned from his journey, he found the whole throne room taken. And as the king was very wise, he greeted the monster with courtesy, without making threats, and with each gesture of kindness, the monster diminished in size until it went back to being the tiny goblin and then disappeared. That day, the gods learned a lesson that you can take with you for the rest of your life. The best way to handle difficult people is not by feeding the monster, but rather becoming an easygoing person yourself. You cannot transform other people, but you can transform your own behavior. Think of this story of the king, the gods, and the goblin as a metaphor for you to deal with difficult people. The goblin represents the difficult person in your life. And you can choose to act like the wise king or react like the aggressive gods. In your interactions with other people, your choice is solely about who you are. You can control your focus, your thinking, your behavior, but you cannot control other people's behavior. If you have to live with someone who's difficult for a long time, in the long run, there will always be difficult moments. Crisis situations. At such times, wrong behavior can shake or even destroy your relationship with that person. So you need to be careful what you say and how you behave in these situations. If you behave like a reactive, aggressive god, you only feed the monster, making the whole situation worse. But if you behave like a wise and kind king, you can control your words and control your actions, so everything goes back to normal. Using wisdom, kindness, and empathy, that is the best way to get out of a vicious cycle that forms when we have to live with someone who's difficult to deal with. Before we go any further, just a warning. This is not counseling in the case of abuse with physical or psychological violence. If you're in a dangerous situation, seek police help if necessary. Our chat here is just about difficult people to live with, people who live just grumbling, complaining, who create intrigues, who are disrespectful. In these cases, empathy can be your best defense. Break patterns with empathy. When the person is looking for a fight, you can offer peace. If you find someone looking for a fight for irrelevant things that they find irritating, like you forgot the lights of the kitchen on, just imagine how it would be to be inside of the head of that person. That person who's difficult with you is probably worse with themselves. So have empathy. This is a technique that can help you to get along with someone who is difficult. Try to put yourself in the other person's situation. Try to see the world through their perspective. Take into account the upbringing of that person, their psychological characteristics, the moment that they're going through. I know this is not an easy task, and you don't have to be perfect. But just the fact that you try to see the situation from the other person's perspective in an empathic way will help a lot. In this whole process, remember that you don't have the power to change the other person. It's no use trying to do that. But you do have the power to change yourself. So you can choose kind words. You can understand the situation. You can be willing to be flexible. A difficult person to deal with often seeks a fight to get attention. So you can break expectations. You can give them the attention that they crave. You can offer peace instead of fighting. If this is not possible, you've got to learn when to withdraw. Know and respect your limits. If you get too angry to be able to be kind, just break the vicious cycle and walk away. Resist the temptation to try to win the argument. After you and the other person have cooled down, well, you can try again. Lead by example and then let time do the work of change. Living with a difficult person can seem impossible at the height of crisis. Unfortunately, there is nothing that you can do to change the other person, only you can decide to change. And maybe the change from the other person will happen, maybe not. This change might take years, decades, perhaps a lifetime. Meanwhile, your power lies right now. By leading by example, you can change your own behavior first. Have you ever wondered if, from the other person's point of view, maybe you are the one who is a difficult person to live with? Maybe the other person really wants you to be changing as well. So what about you become an easygoing person? A person who is able to listen carefully to others, who can pay attention, who uses kindness to avoid conflict situations. At first you might be reactive and think, whoa. I am right. So why do I have to change? Well, the issue here is not being right or wrong. It is about maintaining a happy relationship with whomever you have to live with, whether by choice or lack of choice. So you can use positive psychology to have happier relationships even with difficult people. Positive psychology is a movement for us to be more open-minded, more appreciative of human potentials and capabilities. With positive psychology, instead of focusing on the problem, we focus on the solutions. The problem here you already know. You have to live with a difficult person. So what is the solution now? A good starting point is not to focus on what the person has to offer. We already know that this is a difficult person. But what good is in this person? What are the best qualities of this person? What are the characteristics of this person that you appreciate? What we focus on tends to expand inside our head. If you only focus on the difficulties of the relationship, it will tend to grow. But if you're looking to focus on the positives, that will also tend to grow in your mind. From this positive perspective, seek to have honest conversations with the other person, not wanting to fight or to prove that you're right, or trying to change the other person. Just share, report how you are feeling, and ask how things can get better. In these conversations, use nonviolent communication. Remember, that person is difficult with you because there are problems in their life. This helps for you to not take things personally. If you take it personally, you'll probably become reactive, perhaps even aggressive. Sometimes the other person is even unaware that they're being difficult. Maybe they think that they are helping you, or that they're just being honest, or that they're trying to be funny. So then you can explain what would you like to see happen in a different way. You can clarify your needs. But when you do it, keep a positive mindset with lightness, kindness, empathy. Remember to act like the wise king, not like the angry gods in the beginning of our conversation. Otherwise, you might just be feeding the monster. The best way to deal with difficult people is to make yourself a person who is easy to deal with. So when someone keeps picking fights with you, you can break these expectations and instead offer wisdom, kindness, empathy. You can focus on the good parts of the relationship and seek to lead by example, acting in a way that prioritizes the solution over the problem. This positive and light way of living your life can increase your happiness levels. To learn more about other techniques just like this one, I invite you now to access our happiness course by going to arata.se/happiness.